So, Sony just launched a new product, and this is the Sony ULT Field 7. And it's actually a Bluetooth speaker that weighs quite a bit, but I also think it's very interesting. But let me tell you a bit more about it. First, let's talk about the battery life. What can you expect out of the speaker? Well, Sony says you can get about 30 hours of continuous playing. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, that actually depends on quite a few factors. For example, the volume, if you have the ULT function on, which we're going to talk about in a few moments, if you have RGB on, if you're charging your cell phone, because yes, it does have a USB port on the bottom where you can actually charge your phone. And all those things are actually going to impact your battery life significantly. So depending on what you're doing with it is what the battery life is going to be. Now, what kind of drivers do you have in the inside? Well, it has 2 tweeters and it has 2 woofers in the interiors. It doesn't have anything really dedicated to mids, so that might actually determine the type of audio I'm going to tell you in a little bit more. It also has an IPX67 protection, which means you can actually leave it outside in the rain, it won't have any issues, but you cannot submerge it. If you drop it into a pool, most likely it won't make it, so beware of that. How do you charge it? Well, it actually has a 2-pin connector in the back. It's exactly the same connector the PlayStation has, so just a fun fact in case you wanted to know. But it doesn't have a USB Type-C port, which I also think is a mistake, taking into account that a lot of products actually have USB Type-C or even Thunderbolt to get that fast charging or even that necessary current you need with a product that's so big. So I do think the technology is there for them to have put a USB Type-C in there, but they decided to go with something a little bit more analog. And for the price, I think it could have been a little bit better. Now, this speaker is also compatible with 2 applications in the App Store and Play Store as well. One is for the speaker where you can actually update it, where you can tune it, where you can also map the buttons, where you can update the firmware, and where you can control a little bit more things. It's a little bit basic, but does the job. It also can connect to something called Fiestable. Fiestable can control RGB. It can also give you these quirky, kind of corny sound effects. I never use them. Drop a comment below if you use these type of sound effects in your party. I think it's kind of tacky, but that's just me. And I think that application is a little bit outdated and is completely unnecessary, but to each their own. If you want to use them both, you can actually do it with this product as well. Now, taking into account you have 2 tweeters and 2 woofers, well, the high ends are pretty good. They're not too sibilant. That means it's not too strong. It won't hurt your hearing. Even if what you're listening to is a little bit too whiny, it does a great job. So pretty good on the high ends. The mids are the worst part in this speaker, but I also think it's not its purpose. The mids are kind of muddy, they're not that clean, and they do interfere with the explosive bass you get out of those 2 woofers. Because yes, the bass on this speaker is great. It's pretty explosive, it's a lot of fun. It's meant for partying, it's meant for exteriors. It's made for music like maybe hip hop or any type where you want to take advantage of the lows. So it's excellent that way. But it also interferes with the mids. So if you want something that's a little bit clearer, a little bit more cleaner, well, this might not be the speaker for you. There's also another button, which is the fun button. That's what I call it. It's the ULT button. That ULT button, what's going to give you is additional bass, and it gets pretty crazy, especially if you're in a closed environment. It might be a little bit too much. It starts distorting the rest of the sound, but again, to each their own, and I know there's people or scenarios where you might want this type of audio. Now, there's another advantage to this speaker that not other speakers have, and that is the Bluetooth codecs. This speaker actually has AAC, SBC, and also LDAC, because yes, Sony owns LDAC, but previously, not all their speakers used to have LDAC inside, so now, this one does, which is a nice surprise, and will get you a little bit better quality audio, but still, you won't get clear audio because of the drivers you have inside. It has a lot to do, and everything that dominates in this speaker, well, is focused on the bass. Now, one of the most important things for a Bluetooth speaker, the price. What does this bad boy go for? $3.99 in the US. Depending where you live, that price might go up or go down. I really don't know. Drop a comment below where you live and how much it costs. But I think for $3.99, it's in the range of competition to other brands like maybe JBL or even Harman Kardon. But still, it's a little bit on the higher end. I think it's a good price, fair price if you live in the US. For example, I live in Mexico City and it's way more expensive. It actually costs about $450, and for that price, I wouldn't recommend it. But for $3.99, I think the value is there, especially if you want a speaker for outside, you want a speaker for maybe partying, or you want something just for your reunions and show a little bit off with that ULT button. So again, $3.99 depending where you live, I think it's not that bad. But what do you guys think? But if you're the type of person that actually thinks the value is not there, well, I don't blame you. It's a lot of money. But if you want to try another option or see a different kind of product, check this video over here. I think you might like. And also drop a like and don't forget to subscribe because it helps us out quite a bit.